Okay, here is an abs routine. So we're going to have a look at some abs. We're going to look at some static abs. We're going to have a look at some movements and holds and some obliques and all sorts. So we're going to have like a little routine basically. So our classics are the plank. So let's always plank. Let's just do that. We've got this. Why don't we begin with that movement? We're just going to hang the pelvis neutral, if maybe a millimetre above neutral. So it would be totally imperceptible by sight, and the only reason being that actually we're holding this position from our abs at the front basically, so we don't want to be dipped down where we're going to have a tiny little sort of lean into that kind of lower back and pelvis. We want the abs to hold nice and tightly. Yeah, don't push too hard through shoulders around the back, don't be high here. So we're going to do this, and we're going to have your endurance for how long you can hold. If plank for you has moved on from something that is a challenge to something that is not a challenge, then what we're going to do is you're going to reach over side by side. And each time you lift the opposite hand, you're going to switch the abs on to stabilise. And if you notice, the body will stay nice and flat and completely stable, not because of tension in the back or shoulders, but because of hold in the abs. When this isn't stable, you'll see rocking and twisting. Yeah? But actually, that's not the same thing. We want to be here, and the instability created by taking that other hand away is going to be answered by the abs. And there's your plank. So you're either holding that for up to 60 seconds, or you're alternating, and then to your own ability, basically. When you start to sort of feel you can't hold the line, keep your abs on, then turn over. Let's say that the upper end of that, and something to aim for would be 10 reaches either side, or a 60-second hold. We're then going to turn over, and we're going to go to marches and also an extension if you have the strength. So marches we've seen before, we're here, and we're just dropping the leg and bringing it back up. I won't overdo the lengthy explanation, but the things we want to avoid is poking the neck forward. You may as well support your skull, I think, and then you have a really comfortable neck. You're holding a nice neutral position, so you're avoiding this arching up. Yeah. Neutral is here. People talk about flat back on the floor. That, I think, is misdirection. That won't happen until other movements, like your chest, is really sort of brought up. When you're just ever so slightly elevated and holding this neutral position, there is a small gap at the floor. Legs are going to drop gently, abs hold on. The reason that we drop the legs or do any of these exercises like straighten the legs is that the leg is heavy and loads the pelvis. The pelvis tries to pull up, and the work in the abs is done to hold that position. So this is a longer push, and the regressed version after plank is going to be marches, and we'll go 10 either side, and the progress version is going to be a much longer stretch with the leg. And then as you go out, really read what you've got to do here, so that you don't end up sitting with loads of tension over the hip muscles. It tries to compensate for what the abs should be doing. Pelvis shouldn't be tipping up because the hips are switched on. Instead, you should be held nicely there. Okay, so we've got the plank, and then we've got either those marches or those extensions. And then let's go over the side for this. I love this exercise. This recent, you know, like you get used to things. Sometimes you use them for a couple of years and then you forget them for a couple of years. A colleague of mine brought this to my attention recently. We're doing a class for us from Spain, actually, but that's another story. These are oblique raises. So this is the advanced version. You should sit quite comfortably. You're not on the hard side of the pelvis and the hip there. So you've got, if you roll back, the buttock will just support you really nicely and softly. And then what you're going to do is switch your abs on, the obliques specifically, and you're going to raise these up. The regressed version of this is to have your legs here and then to extend them as far as you can control without feeling discomfort and things like the back. Yeah, if you should feel work going on in the abs. Yeah, so it might be that your range is here and you're taking this movement. Yeah, you may find that you're even going all the way out and coming back and getting really good work here. All of that is regressed. The exercise that we want is here, raising that up, really thinking about pulling this together, getting those obliques to work really nice. There we go. And we'll go to the other side. So we've got plank, marches, and obliques. Yeah? Do that here as well. There we go. Ah, awesome. Obliques exercise, that one. Good. Brilliant. Let's go 10 either side. So we've got plank, 60 seconds, or 10 reaches. We've got marches or extensions for 10 either side, and then we've got obliques for 10 either side.